All right, good morning, trade pros. Welcome to Morning Market Update for Friday, February the 22nd. This is Georgia Trade Pro Academy. Victorio's here this morning as well. Nice of him to show up. Thanks, Vicky. We got a great morning market update ahead of us. We're going to talk about a few things. It's Friday. We're going to wind down the week, but it's going to be a busy Friday. There's going to be a lot of news events today. Today's going to be news event driven, and not by means of an economic type of update in terms of numbers like CPI, GDP, NFP, that kind of stuff. It'll more so be Fed speakers and China-U.S. trade negotiations. So that's kind of what we got on the forefront. Before we jump into it, I want to remind you that we've started off a new initiative, and yesterday was the first one of its kind. Mark is doing midday market updates on a daily basis in our Facebook group. Just click the link in the description below. You'll be able to join and be part of that. We started yesterday, and it was phenomenal. All right. Morning market fun fact. On this day in 1980, traveling back over 30 years now, the consumer price index rose 1.4% in January alone. All right, equating to an annualized inflation rate of 18%, which is really high, the highest since the 1973 oil crisis. And in comparison to what it is today, on February 12th, we printed the last CPI or inflation reading for the United States, and it was 1.8%. All right, so the consumer price index rose almost what it currently is annually in one single month. That's pretty nuts. And considering where we are today, inflation is much lower. All right, the Federal Reserve is printing all this money and having a harder time still bumping inflation up. But I mean, the question is, what is inflation, right? Inflation includes a lot of the items like energy and food that's increased significantly. I don't know about you guys, but a little pepper here in Toronto is like $3 if it's organic. And who knows what organic is? It might just be a label, but organic pepper is like $3. For our friends out in New Zealand, the capsicums, $3. All right, let's continue. Baidu yesterday is up 3.8% on earnings, surpassing its estimates. Dropbox down 10% on disappointing guidance. And Kraft Heinz, a Warren Buffett brand, um, Warren Buffett invested in it, is down 20% overnight. Yeah, on news, I mean, Kraft is like a company that's supposed to be very stable, and it is. But the news that really pushed this thing lower, first of all, is that it did a huge write down of $15 billion on two brands. And more importantly, the SEC announced that they're going to subpoena them in court over accounting practices for specifically for the procurement business. And so, that's trouble. It sounds like from reading the Wall Street Journal report, this is very fresh off the press, by the way, it looked and sounded like they approached regulators themselves after noticing an accounting anomaly. And, excuse me, and, is this going to be an Enron type situation? I don't think so, but you never know, right? You really never know at the end of the day. And this is why my longer term investments are mostly in real estate as opposed to the stock market. And there's no problem with investing in the stock market as long as you're diversified. So this brings to forefront two things. Number one, they need to be diversified. And number two, even stable companies are not away from the risk factor of these kind of accounting situations. All right, very interesting there. We're going to keep tabs on that. In Asia, Japan's down 0.2%. Hong Kong's up 0.7%. China's up 1.9%. India flat. All in all, we're seeing some gains in China out of Asia. European equities are up. London's up 0.5%. Paris is up 0.3%. Frankfurt's up 0.5% as well. In the United States, Dow is up 0.5%. S&P's up 0.5%. And Nasdaq's up 0.6%. We're continuing the trend. I very often get asked this question. I'm a European trader, and I'm like, great, me too. And then they clarify, and they're like, no, I actually live in Europe. I'm like, oh, okay, that's different. and they'll say, how do I trade if I'm in Europe? And guess what? A lot of the gains in the last several weeks have happened in the European hours. So if you're trading out of Europe and you're listening to this update, you got a prime opportunity here. Most of the trend-like behavior is happening in the overnight session. And in the US, we kind of wake up into it. The market opens. It takes its time to settle down. There's eventually moves if you could sit and be patient through the chop. So there's a lot of opportunity for European and overnight traders here to take advantage of this move. A lot of the gains are happening from about 3 a.m. to about 5:30, and that's the London Open. So if anyone's able to capture that specific time period, it's almost as good as the overlap between 9 to 11 a.m. in the U.S. All right. So just a heads up. Crude oil is up 1%, rallying pretty strong overnight. Gold is down slightly. Bitcoin is up almost 1%. It's just sitting under 4,000 at the moment. 10-year treasury yields are flat. And as the title of this YouTube suggests, we got a plethora of central banking speakers. Fed's Mary's speech happens at 10:15. 10:15, Fed's Williams is speaking on the prospects for inflation with a high-pressure economy. 1 p.m., Baker Hughes rig count, which is not actually central banking. This is pertaining to oil. This identifies the number of offshore drilling supply increase or decrease over the last week. So that's coming out at 1 p.m. Huge opportunity for oil traders there. 1:30 p.m., Fed's Bullard, the future of the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. 1:30, Fed's Clarita. She's going to be speaking on the future of the Federal Reserve balance sheet. 1:30, also Fed's Harker is going to speak at the same conference. 5:30, Fed's William is speaking. So you got, 5 or 6 Fed speakers here, including Mario Draghi, who's going to be speaking today. There's going to be a lot of squawk news. So today is the type of day that if you're not listening to a trading news service in real time, you might want to take today off. And I'm being honest about that. If you've had a good week, crystallize that week, take the Friday off, and go to the bar. It's illegal to go to the, well, it's not illegal, but nobody will serve you alcohol in Canada until 11 a.m. So we'll make it to at least 11. Victoria goes some underground casinos and basements, and they'll probably serve you there. But yeah. So anywho, that's what's sort of going on and happening. News service is very important for today's session. Be reminded that at any point, any one thing that's said could cause volatility, and it's really challenging to trade if you don't really know the latest, especially in these markets that are propelled by a lot of news. Donald Trump today meets with China's top trade official, Liu He, with only a week left until the deadline of March 1st. The non-magical deadline. Donald Trump said it's not a magical date. And ladies that have been on a date with me know it's a magical date. I don't know why I took it there. I hope the wife's not watching. I'll get in trouble. It's Friday. What can I tell you? So that's happening today. There's going to be some discussion between Trump and the top negotiator from China's trade team. And we have 1 week left. The question is, will he or won't he, Donald Trump, impose more tariffs? Right now, we're at 10% of $200 billion. The deadline for March 1st was we either come to an agreement or we increase those tariffs to 25%, which is a significant increase. And right now, we don't know what Donald Trump's thinking. He sort of said that it's not a magical deadline. I feel that from his standpoint, as long as he's making progress in negotiations, he'll be willing to delay these tariffs. It's not a certainty yet. And when that becomes a certainty, the market may rally 10, 15 points on the S&P to incorporate or price that in. All right, because delaying the trade line means two things. One, there's going to be less tariffs in the shorter period. And number two, it means that there's some hope for a larger, more broad trade deal. All right. Just remember about the Larry Kudlow factor. We've been through this before. Oh, it's great. Yeah, it looks like we're making progress. Larry Kudlow's like, we're very far apart. And then the stock's dump. So if you're listening to News Squawk today and you hear Larry Kudlow remarks, careful. Well, get ready, load up the short. Warren Buffett can't find anything to buy. He basically said that he's on the hunt for elephants, as he calls them, which are big acquisitions. He hasn't bought anything in 3 years. He hasn't acquired a big company. Berkshire Hathaway is stacking a pile of cash at the moment, and they're releasing their latest annual results. Not tomorrow, early next week, I believe. I didn't pull the date for you, so don't quote me on that. But they're releasing results soon. They got a hoard of cash. And this is an interesting factor for me because if not Donald Trump, if Warren Buffett isn't buying, that probably means he thinks asset valuations are a little overstretched. Things have gotten a little bit expensive in the market in terms of historic valuation, comparing it to price to earnings ratio and where we're at the moment. It's a little frothy. And you have a lot of companies at the moment trying to file for IPOs, Uber, Lyft. We also heard that Pinterest is looking to IPO as well in 2019. And I think that this is happening in a backdrop where a lot of venture capital is starting to dry up because of these valuations. And these companies are having to resort to a secondary market, which is the trading market, the stock market. And another thing I was reading yesterday was kind of cool is that these companies are granting stock options based on valuations significantly less than what they IPO at. And the Wall Street Journal did a nice investigative article about that I read last night. And it's interesting because if that's brought to the forefront and more attention is given to it, that practice will have to change. They're basically saying, here's a share that you're purchasing of this company at 30% below market value, and then the next day they IPO and say, oh, now we IPO at this price all of a sudden. Interesting practice. Look to hear more. There's going to be some pressures on investment banks that have been engaging in these practices. And I mean, it's not a surprise. Anyone's surprised that the insiders have an opportunity to make more than the public? I'm not. You guys have a great day. That's what we got for you today. Remember, we have a midday morning, let me start again. Cut. A little like board cut. Midday market update by Mark. That's why it's a tongue twister. Mark is doing a midday market update today in Facebook. It's going to be awesome. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. I want to say have a wonderful rest of your weekends. Be safe out there. Keep your ear to the squawk and find some opportunities to get green. All right, guys. I'm looking at the market at the moment. We're up a little bit. I think it's a dip buying opportunity, but because of all this news and volatility, I can't come in here this morning and give you a sentiment and say just do this. You're going to have to really look at the real time a little more focus on the real time, and there's going to be more opportunities. You guys take care. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for trading with us this week. Hope you had a great green week, and we'll see you on Monday. We have 2 great videos coming out this weekend on YouTube. One tomorrow at 3 p.m., the other one on Sunday at 3 p.m. All right. What are you doing for Saturday, Vicky? What video? Victoria's talking about a secret Sierra indicator that he wants to share with you guys. And I'm doing a video for Sunday called The Truth About Trailing Stop Losses. It's going to be a beauty, both of those. So hopefully you get an opportunity to catch those. If not, see you Monday. Have a great weekend to you and your family. Sending you love, joy, and happiness. This is George from Trade Pro. Over and out. Goodbye. All right, Trade Pros in the room. Let's open this thing up and talk about some levels and find some opportunities for the day. Like I mentioned, don't force it today. Be a little bit more patient. Start with more patience, and then as volatility comes in and opportunity comes in, then get more aggressive. But the starting move for today is just be patient. A lot of these gains will happen overnight. Let's take a look at some levels together and set up the next opportunity.